A sweet surprise. Lily practically skipped down the sidewalk, the paper bags crinkling a cheerful rhythm against her jeans. The afternoon sun warmed her face as she imagined the aroma of warm sugar and melting chocolate chips filling Abuela's tiny apartment. Today was cookie day, and Lily had splurged on the good butter and the fancy sprinkles, the kind that looked like tiny iridescent jewels. She couldn't wait to see the smile on Abuela's face when she saw them. She pictured Abuela already in the kitchen, humming a tuneless melody as she preheated the oven. Maybe she'd even have a cup of hot chocolate waiting. Lily quickened her pace, her stomach rumbling in anticipation. The skip turned into a determined march as she reached the steps leading to their building. 3 bags. 3 flights. Lily groaned inwardly. She should have asked Mr. Henderson for help. He was always sitting on the porch, reading his newspaper. But she hadn't wanted to bother him. The first bag, filled with flour and sugar, threatened to tear as she hauled up the first flight. She paused on the landing, switching the bag to her other arm. The second flight was worse. Her fingers ached, and the plastic handles dug into her skin. By the time she reached their door on the 3rd floor, her breath came in ragged gasps. She fumbled with the keys, nearly dropping the last bag filled with eggs and the precious sprinkles. Finally, the door swung open, revealing the familiar, comforting sight of Abuela's crocheted blanket draped over the worn armchair. But Abuela wasn't in the kitchen. The oven was cold, and a shadow fell across the doorway, blocking the sunlight. A familiar, unwelcome silhouette. The grumpy gatekeeper. Lily juggled the last of the overstuffed grocery bags, her arms aching. A rogue tomato threatened to escape from the top of the precarious pile. Almost there, she muttered, kicking the lobby door open with her heel. A throat cleared. Lily nearly dropped everything. Mrs. Crabtree, arms crossed, stood sentinel near the elevators, her lips pursed into a permanent frown. Her eyes, magnified by thick lenses, scrutinized Lily like a hawk eyeing a field mouse. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Crabtree," Lily managed, her voice a little breathless. "Good afternoon?" Mrs. Crabtree echoed, the words dripping with disapproval. "I wouldn't exactly call this a good anything. Look at you, young lady, laden down like a pack mule. Really? All those bags? Is that truly necessary?" Lily shifted her weight, the plastic digging into her wrists. "Just stocking up," she mumbled, wishing she could disappear into the patterned wallpaper. Stocking up? Or hoarding? Mrs. Crabtree's gaze narrowed. "There are rules about excessive deliveries, you know. It's in the HOA guidelines." Something about, she trailed off, tapping a finger against her chin as if struggling to recall the exact wording, maintaining the aesthetic integrity of the building's common areas and preventing obstruction. Lily's heart sank. HOA guidelines? She'd skimmed them, of course, but hadn't seen anything about grocery limits. This felt like a deliberate jab. I didn't realize," Lily stammered, picturing her overflowing pantry. "I'll be more mindful next time." Mrs. Crabtree sniffed, her eyes lingering on the bulging bags. "See that you are. Some of us actually care about keeping this building respectable." Confiscation confusion. Mrs. Crabtree stood planted in the doorway, a human roadblock. "Those groceries," she declared, her voice sharp enough to curdle milk. "They violate HOA Bylaw 37B, subsection alpha. Excessive, colorful packaging. Detracts from the community aesthetic." Lily blinked. "Colorful packaging? Mrs. Crabtree, it's just food. For me. I bought it." "Irrelevant," Mrs. Crabtree snapped, puffing out her chest. "As acting president, until the next election, which, coincidentally, I'm running in again, I have a duty to uphold standards. And those garish boxes and bags simply won't do." She gestured towards the overflowing bags with a trembling hand. "I shall, therefore, be confiscating them." Confiscating? Lily's brow furrowed. Was this woman serious? But why? Lily stammered, clutching the handle of the bag containing the ripe mangoes. Their sweet scent suddenly felt accusatory. "Redistribution," Mrs. Crabtree announced, a strange glint in her eye. "A community initiative. I'll ensure these items are put to better use, distributed amongst those truly in need. Starting with myself, of course. I haven't had a decent avocado in weeks." Lily stared, dumbfounded. The absurdity of the situation washed over her. Confiscation? Redistribution? It sounded like something out of a bad movie, not her quiet suburban life. The blood rushed to her cheeks. Was this actually happening? Cookies versus control? "I'm sorry, Mrs. Crabtree," Lily said, her voice trembling only slightly. She gripped the paper bag tighter, the crinkle a tiny act of defiance in the sterile hallway. But these are my groceries. I need them. Agnes Crabtree's face, already a roadmap of wrinkles, tightened further. Need? Need is a strong word, dear. And frankly, a bit dramatic. I simply require them more urgently. She gestured vaguely with a hand sporting enough rings to sink a small boat. My book club is tonight, and I promised homemade cookies. Lily swallowed, the image of warm, chocolate chip cookies battling with the acid churning in her stomach. I was planning on making cookies too, to welcome everyone to the building. As a peace offering, she added, thinking of the earlier incident. The scent of vanilla and melted butter filled her imagination, a stark contrast to the antiseptic smell of the hallway. Mrs. Crabtree scoffed, the sound like dry leaves skittering across pavement. Peace offering? Please. You disrupted the established order. Besides, she lowered her voice conspiratorially. My recipe is far superior. It's been passed down for generations. She reached for the bag again, her fingers, tipped with chipped, crimson nail polish, brushing against Lily's. Lily recoiled. These are my ingredients, she repeated, her voice gaining strength. I bought them. I'm going to bake those cookies. The plastic handles bit into her palms, a small, grounding pain that solidified her resolve. The smell of yeast and sugar wafted faintly from the bag, a promise of sweetness she wasn't willing to relinquish. The HOA threat. Mrs. Crabtree's voice, sharp as shattered glass, sliced through Lily's cheerful humming. Young lady, I haven't forgotten you. Lily stopped, the grocery bags digging painfully into her palms. The scent of freshly baked bread from Mrs. Crabtree's open doorway wafted out, a cruel contrast to the sourness in the woman's tone. I need those groceries, Mrs. Crabtree declared, her chin tilted at an imperious angle. My book club is meeting tonight, and I need to bake cookies. It's the least you could do after being so disrespectful. Disrespectful? Lily's cheeks burned. She had politely declined to hand over her hard-earned groceries. I really can't, Mrs. Crabtree. I need these for my dinner. Lily shifted her weight, trying to subtly maneuver around the woman. Mrs. Crabtree huffed, her face reddening. Is that so? Well, I'll just have you know, young lady, that this kind of behavior won't be tolerated in this building. I'm on the HOA board, and I'll be reporting you. We have rules about proper conduct, and you're clearly in violation. The threat hung in the air, thick and heavy. Lily's stomach twisted. The HOA. Just the thought of dealing with their bureaucratic maze sent a shiver down her spine. Ignoring the older woman, Lily turned towards her apartment, the bags rustling with each step. Have a good evening, Mrs. Crabtree, she managed, her voice trembling slightly. The screen door slammed shut behind Mrs. Crabtree, punctuating the silence with a final, ominous thud. Lily fumbled with her keys, the metal cold against her clammy fingers. 911. Mrs. Crabtree's face contorted into a mask of righteous indignation. Her eyes, already magnified by thick lenses, seemed to bulge as she snatched her phone from her floral-printed handbag. The aroma of potpourri that clung to her intensified, a suffocating wave of lavender and dried roses. This is outrageous. Utterly outrageous, she screeched, her voice cracking like a poorly tuned violin. She stabbed at the screen with a trembling finger. I'm calling 911. This girl is stealing groceries. My groceries. Lily's jaw dropped. The blood drained from her face, leaving her skin clammy. The bright colors of the vegetable aisle seemed to dim, the sounds of rustling bags and chattering shoppers fading into a muffled hum. 911? Over a bag of flour and some chocolate chips? Mrs. Crabtree, please, Lily stammered, her voice barely a whisper. I wasn't stealing. I was just helping you. Helping yourself to my ingredients, you mean? Mrs. Crabtree shrieked into the phone. Yes, hello. I'd like to report a theft. At the Fresh Foods Market on Elm Street. A young woman. She's got my groceries. I need them for my book club meeting tonight. Yes, chocolate chip cookies are crucial to our discussion of Pride and Prejudice. She glared at Lily, her finger jabbing accusingly. She's right here, attempting to flee the scene with stolen goods. Lily's heart hammered against her ribs. A cold dread washed over her. This couldn't be happening. Neighbors assemble. 911. What is your emergency? Mrs. Crabtree's voice dripped with theatrical urgency. Yes, I need the police. Immediately. There's a theft. A brazen act of grocery larceny. Lily's cheeks burned. Mrs. Crabtree, please. I just need to bring my groceries inside. She's trying to deprive me of crucial baking supplies. My book club meets in an hour, and now I'll have nothing to offer them. This young woman is preventing me from fulfilling my hostess duties. A screen door slammed across the street. Mr. Henderson, perpetually clad in a Hawaiian shirt, emerged, watering can in hand. He paused, his eyebrows climbing north as Mrs. Crabtree's amplified voice carried. Soon, Mrs. Peterson, her chihuahua, Princess Fluffy but straining at its leash, joined him. From next door, Maria, clutching a colander full of freshly picked tomatoes, peered out. Mr. Henderson winked at Maria, a mischievous glint in his eye. Sounds like Agnes is auditioning for a soap opera again. Maria stifled a giggle, tucking the colander closer. Inside her car, Lily gripped the steering wheel. She could hear snippets of hushed conversations. Book club? Since when does she bake? Grocery larceny? Is that even a thing? Mrs. Crabtree, oblivious to her growing audience, continued her performance. I fear for my safety. She's preventing me from getting my ingredients. She's blocking me from baking cookies. Receipt to the rescue. The flashing lights of the police cruiser painted swirling reds and blues across the wilting petunias in the community garden. Officer Garcia, a woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, stepped out, her gaze sweeping over Lily, then settling on Mrs. Crabtree, who was clutching her chest dramatically. All right, what seems to be the problem here? Officer Garcia asked, her voice calm but firm. Mrs. Crabtree launched into a tirade about stolen groceries, baking emergencies, and the audacity of youth these days. Lily, her cheeks burning, stammered, "But I bought them. They're my groceries." She expects me to believe that pathetic little bag is all she bought? Mrs. Crabtree scoffed, pointing a manicured finger at Lily's reusable tote. Officer Garcia held up a hand, silencing her. "Let's hear your side, miss." Lily, heart pounding, reached into her bag. I have the receipt." She pulled out the crumpled slip of paper, handing it to the officer. "I went to Farmer Joe's this morning." Officer Garcia examined the receipt, her eyes scanning the items. Organic zucchini, free-range eggs, artisanal flour. She raised an eyebrow, a hint of amusement flickering in her eyes. "Mrs. Crabtree," she said, turning to the older woman, "it appears Miss Rodriguez has proof of purchase. These are, in fact, her groceries." Mrs. Crabtree's face crumpled like a discarded pastry. But my book club, my cookies. Perhaps next time," Officer Garcia said, her voice laced with gentle reprimand. "You should plan ahead. And maybe think twice before calling 911 over a baking mishap. You're wasting valuable police time." She handed Lily back her receipt. "Have a good day, Miss Rodriguez." As Officer Garcia turned to leave, Lily managed a small, "Thank you, Mrs. Sweet Victory." Mrs. Crabtree's face crumpled like day-old pastry. The blood drained from her cheeks, leaving them ashen. She sputtered, a sound like a deflating tire, then turned abruptly and stomped back toward her apartment, muttering something about ungrateful youngsters and the decline of society. The door slammed behind her with a reverberating thud. A ripple of applause broke out from the small crowd that had gathered. Lily blushed, surprised by the sudden attention. Mrs. Rosen, her arms laden with grocery bags of her own, gave Lily's hand a squeeze. "Good for you, dear." Someone had to say it. Mr. Henderson, the retired history teacher, chuckled, his eyes twinkling. "That Crabtree woman has been running roughshod over this building for years. It's about time someone stood up to her." Bolstered by their support, Lily practically skipped back to her apartment. The tension that had been knotted in her stomach began to unravel. She unpacked her groceries, a smile playing on her lips. The scent of vanilla and cinnamon soon filled her kitchen as she mixed the cookie dough, humming a cheerful tune. Later, Lily emerged from her apartment, a plate piled high with golden brown cookies. She knocked on Mrs. Rosen's door, then Mr. Henderson's, offering them each a sweet treat. The warmth of their smiles and the genuine appreciation in their eyes filled Lily with a sense of belonging she hadn't felt since moving into the building. Maybe, just maybe, she was starting to find her place here, one cookie at a time.